The arena lights hum with a kind of electricity that only the biggest nights in combat sports can generate. The air thick with anticipation, speculation, and disbelief. Because what the world is about to witness feels almost impossible. A collision of dimensions, styles, and reputations that shouldn't logically exist within the same ring. On one side stands Canelo Alvarez, the embodiment of championship maturity. A fighter whose resume has been carved against some of the most dangerous names across multiple divisions. On the other stands Naoya Inoue, a phenomenon of speed and surgical violence. A smaller man stepping into a realm where physics alone suggests he should not belong. Yet boxing has never been governed purely by physics. It is governed by will, by timing, by intelligence, and by moments where courage overrides logic. From the opening seconds, the contrast is undeniable. Inoue's movement is alive, almost kinetic in its unpredictability, his feet dancing just outside the edges of conventional rhythm. He is not merely moving to evade, he is moving to create problems, to force calculations, to manipulate distance in ways that destabilize expectations. Canelo, by contrast, advances with the calm inevitability of a seasoned predator. There is no wasted motion, no unnecessary urgency. His posture alone communicates decades of experience. Shoulders relaxed, guard disciplined, eyes scanning, not just for openings, but for patterns. This is the difference between speed and patience, between velocity and gravity. The early exchanges become a tactical chess match disguised as violence. Inoue's punches arrive with startling quickness, snapping through openings before they fully exist. His combinations flowing in sequences that seem to bypass reaction time altogether. Yet what becomes immediately clear is that Canelo is not surprised. He absorbs information. Every feint, every angle change, every burst of aggression becomes data stored in the mind of a fighter who has survived elite competition for years. Where a less experienced opponent might panic against such speed, Canelo slows the tempo with subtle positioning, edging his lead foot into controlling angles, forcing Inoue to reset repeatedly. What unfolds is not chaos, but layered strategy. Trainers watching around the world would recognize the technical depth immediately. Inoue attempts to disrupt power with mobility, stepping laterally after combinations, refusing to remain in the pocket long enough for counter-punishment. Canelo responds with calculated bodywork, investing in long-term damage rather than short-term spectacle. The sound of leather meeting ribs carries a different resonance, heavier, more deliberate, a reminder that boxing is not simply about scoring punches, but about altering physiology over time. As rounds progress, the narrative tension intensifies. Fans expecting a quick domination by size begin to realize the complexity of what they are witnessing. Inoue is not merely surviving, he is competing. His timing occasionally slices through Canelo's guard, snapping the champion's head just enough to ignite the crowd. Those moments are dangerous not because they hurt physically, but because they threaten momentum. And momentum in boxing can be as powerful as any punch. Canelo's response reveals the essence of elite experience. He does not chase recklessly. He does not abandon structure. Instead, he narrows the battlefield. His pressure becomes quieter but more suffocating, guiding Inoue toward ropes and corners through foot placement rather than obvious aggression. It is ring generalship at the highest level, the kind that often goes unnoticed by casual viewers but is revered by pure. He is teaching distance with his presence alone. Mid-fight, the physical disparity begins to whisper its presence. Inoue's speed remains dangerous, but the toll of absorbing heavier shots accumulates subtly. His breathing changes. His resets take half a second longer. Meanwhile, Canelo's composure remains intact, his defense tightening as he anticipates patterns he has now decoded. This is where championship mentality becomes visible, the ability to remain patient while executing a long-term plan under intense pressure. Yet the smaller challenger refuses to fade into inevitability. Inoue's courage becomes a storyline of its own. He doubles down on movement, increasing punch volume, daring exchanges that ignite bursts of chaos inside otherwise calculated rounds. At times, he forces Canelo into firefights that electrify the arena, reminding everyone why he has earned a reputation as one of boxing's most explosive talents. These sequences create uncertainty, and uncertainty fuels drama. The fight evolves into something larger than competition. It becomes symbolism, risk versus legacy, ambition versus establishment. Inoue represents the audacity to transcend perceived limits, while Canelo represents the durability of greatness built over time. Neither narrative cancels the other. Instead, they elevate each other, creating a spectacle where both fighters gain stature simply by sharing the ring. From a technical standpoint, analysts would later dissect countless moments: how foot positioning neutralized speed, how body shots altered tempo, how defensive anticipation prevented catastrophic damage. Each round contains educational value, examples trainers could replay endlessly for students learning the craft. This is boxing at its intellectual peak, violence shaped by calculation. Social media erupts in real time. Debates ignite over scorecards, punch statistics, momentum swings. Some viewers argue that speed and volume are winning rounds. Others insist that damage and control favor the veteran. Clips circulate instantly, slow-motion breakdowns, amplifying tiny details into global conversation. The fight becomes not just a sporting event, but a digital phenomenon, feeding algorithms, generating engagement, and extending its life far beyond the final bell. As later rounds approach, tension reaches its apex. Fatigue now becomes a factor for both men, though expressed differently. Inoue's legs still move, but the spring is less elastic. Canelo's pace remains measured, yet his punches carry the weight of accumulated investment. Every body shot thrown earlier now pays dividends. Every defensive read now shortens reaction time. The veteran machine is operating exactly as designed. Then comes the sequence that defines the highlight. Reels a moment where timing, positioning, and opportunity converge. Canelo slips just outside a rapid combination, his counter landing with the precision of someone who has studied this exact movement for rounds. The impact changes the rhythm instantly. Inoue attempts to recover, instincts firing, but the champion senses vulnerability and capitalizes with ruthless efficiency. It is not wild aggression, it is calculated, finishing instinct, the hallmark of elite fighters who understand when the tide has turned. The knockout sequence, when it arrives, carries emotional complexity. There is admiration for the challenger's bravery and recognition of the champion's execution. The crowd reacts not just to violence but to narrative culmination, the moment when experience and power intersect with opportunity. It is a reminder that boxing outcomes are rarely random. They are built through layers of preparation, adaptation, and strategic patience. Aftermath discussions shift quickly toward legacy. Inoue's willingness to face a larger, more established legend elevates his reputation beyond championships alone. Courage against adversity becomes its own currency in boxing history. Meanwhile, Canelo's performance reinforces his standing among modern greats, demonstrating that experience remains one of the most valuable assets in combat sports. The fight does not diminish either man, it enhances both. From a business perspective, the implications are enormous. The event proves that global matchups, combining elite skill with compelling narrative, can drive unprecedented attention. International fan bases merge, pay-per-view markets expand, and sponsors recognize the commercial power of authenticity over gimmicks. It becomes a case study in modern boxing economics, how storytelling, cultural reach, and competitive credibility can coexist to produce record-breaking revenue while maintaining sporting integrity. The broader boxing community absorbs lessons as well. Fighters see the rewards of taking risks rather than avoiding them. Promoters recognize the value of bold matchmaking. Fans rediscover why the sport captivates, because within the ropes, unpredictability lives alongside structure, danger alongside discipline. In the end, what lingers most is not the knockout itself, but the narrative journey. Two champions from different worlds stepping into the unknown, testing boundaries that many considered impossible. One defending a throne, the other chasing immortality. The result becomes part of history, but the courage required to create the moment becomes legend. And that is why nights like this resonate long after arenas empty. Because boxing, at its core, is not merely about winning or losing. It is about proving something to the world, to opponents, and to oneself. It is about confronting risk in pursuit of greatness. When fighters dare to cross divisions, reputations, and expectations, they create stories that transcend sport. So now the question turns to you. Did speed challenge power more than expected? Could a rematch change the outcome? Where does this performance place both fighters in the conversation of modern legends? Share your thoughts, your scorecards, and your predictions in the comments. And if you want more deep dive boxing narratives like this, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and join the discussion because the next legendary story might already be unfolding.